Chill here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Moon Hour. Moon Day, Mercury Hour. And Mercury is 23 degrees retrograde in Scorpio, about to meet Venus on the 22nd degree of Scorpio, they will conjunct. And the Moon is 17 degrees Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, that's retrograde, and will turn direct in 2 days, 1 day, 1 day. Tomorrow, Saturn turns direct. I want to talk about a nice phenomenon that I've seen, which is the expectation versus reality. Expectations of videos from the train versus reality. And those videos are really fascinating because we talk about expectations of whether it is a Slavic woman or a Nordic man. And I really like those videos because with the entire world changing, there is a lot of thinning of the veil, which brings a lot of beauty, a lot of meeting encounters with different energies, telepathy, all types of things that happen when the world is changing. And for example, I'm situated in Israel. I think most of the land is owned already by China. So there is a lot of propaganda from from China, but with that propaganda comes a lot of richness in culture, a lot of emphasis, and they saw that I care about women rights and so on. So I see all the channels about the women leaders of China, or the women empress, or the lady that divorced an emperor. So they're pretty good with that, accommodating for the public opinion by the algorithm, and kind of showing like there's a video for everyone. So that is interesting. And what I like about the expectations versus reality videos is that they take away the veil from the ideation and the devaluation that people may have from different cultures or different origins. And with Venus in my ninth house, it's good to talk about, this, as the world is changing, the people having different worldviews about relations or people, or trying to fit people into, their own boxes, or coming from different cultures. And this is where it exposes a lot of things that people unconsciously or consciously had, that now meet the reality. Okay, so for some people, their belief is that I don't know, high society girl, for example, or a boy should behave in a certain way, and just be compliant or complacent with all types of behaviors that they're just supposed to hush about, and just accept that they see all these beautiful things and beautiful, kind of like eat with the right fork and forget about eat with the right fork and forget about the babies. But or alternatively, they should be living in a place that is neglected, or something of that sort. And a lot of people are not, particularly after the Epstein list, the Dutroux case reopening, with Effie and Viola in Netherlands, and the Dutroux dossiers were in Belgium, but Effie and Viola, I think, were related to Netherlands. So, when it comes to the high society, so to speak, people are less willing to pretend that those things, or and to be very honest, the people that are complacent with that, they grew into a tremendous amount of torture. And the people that grew for outside of the circles, when they meet the money line, or when they meet what it's actually like, they want certain things to change. Okay, they want certain things to. It's not about giving up our dreams or aspirations or entrepreneurship. And those encounters are a big reality check to those that are used to put people in their place according to what they think is the place that is good for someone or not, rather than being themselves and allowing others to be themselves. And so these expectations versus reality videos are really about how we're each our own self. And there's another topic I wanted to talk about after my video this morning, and this is to do with astrocartography. Now, I'm not an expert on astrocartography. I just think about what is the implication of astrocartography in a changing world. So the high boost of astrocartography, which is basically where is astrologically best for a person to travel or to live, and at what time and for what purpose, is an entire intricate field that came particularly in the last 2-3 years. Okay, the war in Ukraine, whatever the fuck is happening with United States. The Middle East, the Middle East of China. I'm sorry, the Middle East west of China. Being enlightened, I mean, illuminated, I mean, in flames. So people had all kinds of questions, and I also gave a very honest assessment, because I have the 22nd degree, which is could be associated with murder, and I'm not a murderer or anything like that. Yes, but for example, when I was in Netherlands, then I realized that this is a country where true crime is one of the most prevalent, one of the most prevalent, highest rating shows. And the fact that my already existing natal chart 22 planet was having another layer in the relocation chart just added another house where that could be an issue. And there my Mars rules my 4th house, which would be my housing. And they tried to house me with the community tried to house me with a driver that was a serial killer. The community helped him out of jail, and he murdered women. I knew that only after he drove me to stay one night at a lady that was kind enough to host me. But I don't know what they were expecting her to do with me, and it felt very unsafe. And so she told me that this person was a serial killer. And then, of course, he had to drive me back to the airport. So that's. I was supposed to be his roommate, or probably his dead roommate. So when we talk about relocation charts, then this is where if it is for survivalistic reasons, then yes, one could consider moving into a place that accentuates less of the risky parts in their chart, but they would add a layer of risk with the relocation chart, and that is something to consider. It's my honest reply as a person that tended to water expands upon cooling cold cases through astrology, and actually had an experience with staying in a place, but other than my birth country. Now, on the other hand, people don't always have the best living conditions, astrologically speaking, in their original birth land. For some people, and I'm being cautious with that, because if people have like letalities risk, then what I said previously applies. However, people have places where they feel different to other places, and that can be relational opportunities, that can be job opportunities, that can be also compatibility with the natal chart of the leaders in the country, or the decision makers in the country, or the natal chart of the country. Actually, if natal chart is not compatible, leaders in the country can be remediative, and vice versa. Granted that they're not like dictatorial, and this brings a different approach to looking at citizenship and looking at living conditions, but not to forget about our origin countries, but also to acknowledge the fact that just like if in a relationship, if somebody is happier with another, or if somebody has a place where it's going for them better, then to accept that, and to accept that the joy of each individual is more important, and at the same time the acknowledgement that certain things, even if one stays in one of the origin lands, certain things would need remediation, and there'd be certain things that are more compatible, certain things that are less compatible. So this is another invitation to think about topics that stir a lot of emotions, like the topic of citizenship, and the topic of residence, and the topic of housing, and even language acquisition, because those things absolutely do affect language acquisition. I don't have all the answers, okay? But it is also important to understand that at different times, people might be living in different locations that are actually good for them. And this is also where, with the thinning of the veil, a lot of those archaic dogmas that were thinking to put people in their place, or not let people be in certain things in certain places, and that type of thinking is actually changing right now. Not towards towards 2030, we'll see it actually changing, because we are purging the ghettos, we're purging the digital prisons, we're purging the 15-minute cities. Okay, people may not like to hear that, but Uranus and Saturn with Ketu is bombing of structures in cities to purge the physical manifestation of those cities. Saturn is time, Mercury or Gemini is short, so short time cities. No, it sounds like Chinese. Chinese have this very verbal way um, of expressing themselves. So they probably come up with something like short time digital prisons for 15-minute cities, purged in dragon leaves China or something. It's my best attempt at Chinese. And so um, you can let me know if you're speaking Chinese. You can let me know in the comments if I came anywhere near close to how it's named in China. By the way, I do not neglect my fatherland, Netherlands. The COVID vaccines in Netherlands were called vaccinatie, and that was the official word. Not unlike the Chinese, they express exactly what it is. Uh, it's nice in Netherlands. The accent is I don't know to pronounce it the best because you saw that it was quite a risk to try to house myself there. But yes, it's kind of like a legergay and the vaccinatie and so on. And sounds like a combination between German and Italian. Um, Very polite, but also very honest and sincere. Um, so the thinking that there are places that people are good for this place and not for this place and that, kind of like apartheid type of thinking. We know it with the people that invented the 15-minute cities that they came from, archaic thoughts that I have to admit I have been privileged not to run into too much in my life. But at this time, when we are about to purge it towards 2030, then we run into all types of, the old run into the new, the east run into the west, the north and the south, and we're running into all kinds of things that we didn't know exist, both within us, which is a place to purge and to transform and to change places where we have been um, unaware or ideating um, or for some people devaluing, and is also we could meet that in the outside world, and yes, basically understanding that people will always prefer to be where they are, where there's, how should I say that, but there's a calling for them to be. And that calling is innate. It's not something that people can change. Also geographically. There are reasons that we would be in certain places in certain times, or that certain places would come up in certain times. And you can watch my previous video, which was the one I recorded this morning with the astrocartography. Okay, doing my own astrocartography. And I showed how in different transits, particularly of the outer planets, then different countries came about and different topics, even the topics that I tend to, when I cover NATO, I talk about Finland, or I talk about China, now Mongolia. They said it's a Genghis Khan type of eclipse. Iceland, I definitely need to delve deeper into Iceland, and I even saw why the Nordic countries were coming for me more so than, let's say, Africa. And this is because my Rahu is closer to the north than to the south. There's certain things related to South America, but they're usually not coming from me necessarily. There's a lady that ran away from her husband in Mauritius, which was a dream island, but he was financially and violent and threatened to kill her. And then, yes, that was a case that she was a Facebook friend, and that was something I tended to. So she was in Mauritius, and so those places can come up, and sometimes through other people, but when it is, let's say, Rahu, then for me it was more the north, even though one of the things when I came back to Israel, it was right before the beginning of the Ukraine war. It's actually a couple of days after I came, there was a demonstration of youth for Ukraine outside, and I was like, why are they demonstrating? Oh, there's a war in Ukraine, and they taught how to make a Molotov bottle. And so, and I said if they show that in Israel, it was I think a year before 7th October, and I said if they show that in Israel, then we should prepare. And indeed, that became very relevant. Now, when Germany lifted the embargo from weapon from Israel, Israel returned to use that weapon, and now they tell us to prepare the shelters. So I already learned protection, burning buildings is the local shelters. Iran. We got everything, all the threats in order. Gas drilled in the Dead Sea, no-touch torture to residents that don't comply with human trafficking. And so everything is mapped. But this is another issue where people are called to certain regions, certain areas, at certain times in their lives, and astrocartography can be the quest for that calling. Now, if I'll ever do astrocartography professionally, and you know what, I invite you for a reading. I don't currently charge for that because I'm not expert in astrocartography, but if you have a thinking about if you feel that you have a calling to be in a place that's not necessarily your land of origin, or could be the land of if you are in diaspora, then, and you have your, I would need your birth time for this type of reading, okay, then I invite you for a reading. It's not going to be too elaborate because I myself am dealing with things, and I don't charge for that currently because it's not my expertise. But it's not about where it's, and I want to emphasize, it's not about where it's safe to live for you. If I'm going to see the 22s, the 18s, the 11s, yes, then I will let you know. It's adding another layer of risk when you travel or relocate. Very important. That being said, other than that topic, if you genuinely feel authentically a calling to be in certain place, I totally am happy to give you a reading, and I would look at your chart with the astrocartography, and we will try to see where is that place coming up for you, and we will begin to understand why at this time in your life, why this place, and we can begin to decipher the calling together, which I think is a very exciting reading. It's a very unique reading. I never met anybody that does that, even with astrocartography. And yes, I do emphasize that I'm not an emotional consultant, so if there's something that is deeply emotional, I invite you, I would be able to give the reading about why this topic comes up, but I invite you to have a safe space with person that has the expertise on like how to deliver a message that is emotional and stuff like that. So this is also a disclaimer. I want to keep it a do no harm type of reading. And yes, if you will feel inclined to donate or buy me a talisman, that is okay, but it's absolutely not a must. And if you cannot afford reading for this particular thing, then that could be free of charge, and it's both experience for me to see if the things that came up for me also come up for other people with the calling to be in a certain place, and that can be interesting, and also for people that are curious particularly about this topic. And it may be that I will simply record to you the reading and send you, or upload it to YouTube and send you a link as unlisted, okay, so that only the person that received the link can see it. I do remind you that we live in the age of air, so privacy is not really a thing, and I cannot grant not the privacy of my own, let alone, okay, so I will not, how should I say that? And also to mention that if something comes up as a theme, okay, I may address that, but only the theme, not the name of person or, okay? And this is important because those things are part of my own research, and the freedom to speak about what I discover is important to me, and this is a very important disclaimer. It's not a confidentiality type of thing. I won't say, oh, this, that, and person, this is the name of the person, and this is what their calling is, but definitely themes that come up might be, in fact, they're very likely to be interrelated to things that come up in my life, so I would like to reserve the openness to speak without feeling limited in my speech. Okay, so that is important if you come to consultation with me. That if I mention, oh, I heard that and that story came up in a reading, that it won't be an issue. Okay, and this is something for you to think very well through with yourself. Okay. Because yes, this is research, and there are many astrologers that give consultations and confidentiality in as far as they're concerned and so on. So you can absolutely pick one of the many astrologers or astrocartographers that do that. My readings tend to be always unique because I I like to do something that is meeting the person at the juncture where is most exciting for me, and then is the right people at the right time. So I'm being incredibly specific, and this is giving good, good enough criteria for you to decide if this is for you, or skip on to something that is more compatible.